On this episode of Simply, we're cruising to Westerly to enjoy the coastal serenity at Napatree Point. Then we'll get creative with local leather artist Mack and Hound. It's time to celebrate with Quisqueya en Acción at Providence's Dominican Festival. Then we'll hop in the time machine to check out the newest generation of collectible cars. All before we catch up with Chef Nick as he prepares an Avenue N favorite. Simply is brought to you by Cranston's Wines and More and Dr. Eric George and Associates. Hey folks, I'm Becky Gibble and this is Simply. It's September, which means back to school. I'm here at historic Slater Mill, which if you grew up in New England, chances are you came here on a field trip. Well, today we're taking you on a field trip of our own through all your favorite subjects. So grab a pencil, a sack lunch, and stick around. Hey folks, welcome back. First up on our schedule, science class. We head down to Westerly to Napatree Point, where we're gonna learn all about conservation. Some people say that Napatree Point is the most beautiful spot in Rhode Island, but don't take my word for it. Let's check it out.
Napatree is a little gem here in Rhode Island. 86 acres of protected conservation area that runs from Watch Hill and sticks out towards Connecticut. It's beautiful maritime dune habitat and is protected underneath our conservation easement. We get a lot of people that come to visit as well, but we also manage the ecosystem for its unique value. We're part of the University of Rhode Island's Coastal Institute, and we're a climate resilient demonstration site. So we're actually studying how this dune system is moving to help us understand how a natural system reacts to those big storms that come through. It's important to understand how the system acts naturally. When Superstorm Sandy actually came through, looking at this system, it took about 5 years for it to naturally restore itself. So by using those baseline data, it helps us understand other parts of Rhode Island's coastal systems.
My name is Keith Killingbeck, and I'm Professor Emeritus at the University of Rhode Island in the Department of Biological Sciences. At one point there were, I was going to say a million, but I think 64 is the correct number of social trails. So boats in Little Narragansett Bay come to shore, cross over to the ocean side. There's really no reason for 64 paths. So when you have a big storm come through, i.e. Superstorm Sandy in 2012, the overwash is much easier coming down this than it is easier to walk. This is one of those 64 social trails that ate up a lot of the dunes. And I think there were at least 20 different species of native plants that were planted in these, what were social trails. But you can see how that's filled in already. To see something that was a sand trail that shouldn't have been here in the first place, converted to this, come on, it's fabulous. It's a great success story.
So we're at the western end of Napatree Point Conservation Area, and we're at the area we call the lagoon. So we have a small lagoon out here that then drains out into kind of the mud flats you see behind us. And also behind those mud flats, you'll see a little bit of a darker area, and those are oyster beds. And this whole area is really important for not only our migratory birds, but some of our residential summer birds coming through as well, as you could hear the terns behind me. We sit in this unique spot between the ocean side, Long Island Sound, and then Little Narragansett Bay. And then off this north side, Sandy Point itself is a really important nesting spot for shorebirds. So really when you talk about the conservation, we talk about the restoration and conservation we do on Napatree, but we really look at it as a connected landscape working with our partners. The conservation area is open 24 hours a day for passive recreational enjoyment. You could really come out here and just enjoy being in nature, connecting to ecosystem, that is pretty rare nowadays, this really undeveloped coastline.
It's an incredibly relaxing, incredibly invigorating. It's just a fabulous place.
Hey folks, Slater Mill was home to the very first water-powered textile mill, thus making it the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution. Today, Slater Mill houses all sorts of historical artifacts and craft exhibits. That leads me to our next subject, my favorite class, arts and crafts. Our teacher today, Ryan O'Keefe, founder of Mack Hound, an artisanal leather goods company. Let's check it out.
Hi, my name is Ryan O'Keefe. We're here at Mack Hounds. We are a small leatherwork and apparel studio in West Warwick, Rhode Island. Mack Hounds is a project I started about 5 years ago. We specialize in all handmade leatherwork, everything from wallets and everyday carry to watch bands, women's bags, and wearable goods like hats and apparel. What's funny is right before our first son was born, I was looking to do something off the computer and I was looking to do something a little bit more handmade. And at the time I was into vintage watches. So I was buying these wristwatches at estate sales and most of them came with like really terrible bands. So I bought leather to reband them. And I had all of this leather and I saw this small wallet and I was like, oh, I can make myself a wallet. So I did. It wasn't me particularly saying that, yes, leather work is what I want to do. It was, oh, I have all of this leather now, and if I don't make something with it, it's just going to sit around. All of our core materials are sourced very close to here in the studio. Our leather is either made in Pennsylvania or Maine, depending on the product. Our hardware is actually made in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and our thread is made in Maine. I wanted to make sure that things stayed as local as possible. For me, the core product always has to be something that comes from here that can support a community nearby me and give people a job. Hearing people's reaction to the work is incredible for me and keeps me going and growing and doing new things all the time and trying new things and expanding and thinking about this more like a brand and a lifestyle than just some guy at a workbench late at night making wallets because he thought it was therapeutic 5 years ago. It's actually really cool to be known for something that you do. And I think that's kind of what a lot of people aim for in their lives, is just to be known for that one thing that you do really well. And it's nice to know that I might have found that. Maybe I haven't yet, but it's cool.
And now everybody's favorite subject, recess. All right, people, turn in your hall passes. Bathroom break's over. Next up, social studies. We connect with Marilyn Cepeda of Quisqueya en Acción to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. She takes us through one of the greatest parties in the North, the Dominican Festival. Let's hit the parade.
The mission of Quisqueya in Action is to preserve the art, culture of the Dominican Republic and its language through education and community involvement. My name is Marilyn Cepeda. I am the president of Quisqueya in Action, Inc. We had a great event, a massive amount of people on Broad Street. They came out and they supported the organization and our Dominican community, the Latino community as a whole. Just to see those Dominican colors on Broad Street, that was like so inspirational for me. It was just like so prideful, to celebrate the art and culture of the Dominican Republic and the contribution we as Dominicans make in the state of Rhode Island and the country as a whole. After we finished there, we came back here to the festival. The festival, we had about between 12 or 13,000 people. And honestly, under the excruciating weather, it was almost like 100 outside. I mean, to have the amount of people that we had here, the support from not just the Dominican community, from the Latino community as a whole, the Anglo community, the African American community, I know it means a lot to Rhode Island, but I didn't think that it meant that much. And I'm getting emotional, but because we can't forget our history. You know, our kids need to know where they come from. You know, we have a lot of Dominican Americans here, third generation, fourth generation, and they don't know a lot about where their parents come from. They need to know where they come from, where their ancestors come from, because when you don't know your history, you're bound to make mistakes. So it's important for us to preserve this event, the parade, the festival, even the different events that we organize during the year. I just want to thank so many people that made this a success this year, but I can't thank enough the city of Providence. I am so proud to be a Rhode Islander, honestly. I would not live anywhere else. We had so much support from everyone. This would never have happened unless we had the support of the community as a whole, the community at a local level and at the state level. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, folks, pencils down. It's time to pick up your toolbox because we're headed to shop class. Let's check out Audrain's inaugural Young Timers event. So crank up your boombox, put on your Tom Selleck mustache, and let's hit the road.
When it comes to vintage cars, the overlooked decades of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s are getting a second look. Here in Newport, Rhode Island, there's now a car event dedicated to these fresh collectibles.
What do you want to talk about, Mr. Pink Floyd? Is that your name? So we're here at the Audrain event and I'm filling in for Tom Gregory. I'm not going to do as good, but we both wear leather jackets. Super stoked to be here at the Audrain Young Timers event.
Today is the inaugural Audrain Young Timers event, and I think that by any measure it's been a great success because people understand what this is all about. It's about collecting moving forward. It's cars that we thought of probably about 5 or 10 minutes ago as used cars, but now realize that the newest of these cars is at least 15 years old, and they've begun to demonstrate all the traits that we want to see in a collector car.
I've got a 1986 Porsche 911 Carrera.
A 1984 308 GTSI Ferrari Quattrovalve.
Yeah, right here I got a 1987 325i convertible. Started as just a Facebook find.
There's usually stories or something unique about every car. It's unusual, right? Because everything stresses age. Like it's the oldest car, or brass era cars, or 60s muscle cars. So I think this is kind of unique that it was honoring those cars made 80s, 90s, 2000s.
It's a car I just wanted to make my own. It's funny how you go from the wheels. Hey, we might as well do the interior. Hey, we might as well put a new top on. You know, a couple dollars and 2 years later, I'm proud of it and we can rock out.
I love the 80s. The 80s, I was a college guy, right? Wow, that was great times. Great music, a lot of fun.
Collecting moving forward is really dynamically on display here on the field. These are amazing cars, some of which are very familiar to a lot of us, some of which we've never seen before. And the idea that these cars are now cars that we need to look at, preserve, cherish, and share, as you are doing today, is an absolutely wonderful thing and the entire spirit of what we want to do here at the Audrain.
For these car owners, it wasn't enough to go full hair metal. Awards were given out for the most outrageous outfits that embrace the pop culture of these decades.
And you also get the Tony Soprano Award as well. Yeah, great.
I'm a big basketball fan. My point today was to say, look, kids are wearing the same thing today as they were at parties 25 years ago. Jerseys, shoes, short shorts, maybe a vintage hat. Some things haven't changed much.
And to that point, dressing up to complement your car is very old. People did it for the 1920s cars, for the turn of the century brass cars, and so why not do it for the 80s, 90s, and 2000s cars? It's all about celebrating the culture.
How long you had the car? 17 years. Wow, okay, that's good. And how many months? 49. 49,000. Somebody actually drives a Ferrari. Thank you very much.
Seeing everything that's out there, but then dressing up for the whole part of the 1980s, and this was simple for me to do. I love it. Yeah, it's a great time.
I'll tell you what, man, on the highway, this hair is both a blessing and a curse. You feel what freedom is like in a convertible, and it gets in your mouth, in your eyes, in your face. I really struggled to look right on the highway. because I trusted the mirror and my gut a few times.
This car community really embraces the entire idea of living with your car and living for your car.
So I'm a big fan of everything that All Terrain is doing. Having car events down here in Newport, and as frequently as they do, you see all different kinds of people, all different kinds of cars. Cars that people walk up and they're like, oh, I remember this when I was a kid, or I had that. And just to be a part of that culture now at the age of 36, just means I have decades and decades to go and be that guy later on.
Get the car that you love and that you've always wanted. And that's the best thing you can do. And keep it immaculate, take care of it, but drive it.
I'd say talk to anybody you can talk to. When people ask about your car, engage them, you know.
We've got a lot in the works for young timers. On September 25th, we're having another show. Bigger, badder, just come and see. You'll be blown away, I think.
And of course, this Young Timers event on September 25th happens just before our 2022 Audrain Newport Concours and Motor Week. It's going to be an amazing event and bigger and better than it was even last year.
You may not even have time to take a breath.
I won't.
All this learning? I could use a break. Don't forget your hall pass. Summertime in Rhode Island? Paradise. But I think we can all agree on the worst part of summer: mosquitoes. Not only are they pests, but they carry all sorts of diseases like West Nile, Zika, and Triple E, Eastern Equine Encephalitis. Luckily, there are things you can do to protect yourself. Put screens in your windows and doors and fix any screens that may have holes. Mosquitoes are most active at sunrise and sundown, so if you have to be outside at those times, wear long sleeves and use bug spray. Are you ready for a terrifying statistic? 1 cup of water can produce thousands of mosquitoes. You can also get rid of mosquito breeding grounds. Ixnay on anything around your property that collects water. Clean your gutters so they drain properly. And change the water in your bird bath at least 2 times per week. For more helpful tips, visit health.ri.gov. Keep on Cookin' is brought to you by Cranston's Wines and More. Hey folks, welcome back. If we're gunning for teacher's pet, then we've got to ace home ec. Good thing we've got Chef Nick to teach us a recipe that's sure to send us to the head of the class.
What's up, y'all? We're back here at Avenue N, and you know, it dawned on me last month we were shooting that we've never actually made a dish that you guys could come and try. Well, all of that changes here today. We are gonna make my world famous Kung Pao Brussels sprouts. They've been on the menu since day one. We have a ton of fresh ingredients. Let's get cooking. So Kung Pao is a sauce that has to hang perfectly in balance. It's a little sweet, it's a little acidic, and it's a little spicy. To get started, we're gonna go in with some sesame oil. So a generous amount, about 2 tablespoons. You wanna have that sesame flavor, that nice nutty flavor. Really adds a ton. Now we're gonna go in with some chopped ginger. It's kind of a must-have. I'm gonna hit it up with a little bit of chopped garlic. These flavors are working so well together already. I wish you could smell it. Next, we're gonna go in with some scallion, chopped green onion. Now that is the legendary combination called GGS. It's the foundation of a lot of dishes in Chinese cooking. So I am going to stir that up and give that a nice little mix. Now we talked about balance, sweetness. We're gonna go in with some ketchup. It's not a common Kung Pao ingredient, but it's what we use here at Avenue N. Now we're gonna give that a mix because that ketchup has a decent amount of sugar in there. Now we're gonna go in with a very common ingredient, and that is soy sauce. So soy sauce is gonna add a lot of salt and a ton of authentic flavor. We'll give that a mix again. You wanna constantly be stirring because you're looking for the body of this sauce. Another ingredient that's gonna complement this balance very, very well is rice vinegar. So that rice vinegar is gonna add the acidity that we were talking about earlier. Now we're gonna add the ingredient that puts the pow in the kung, and that is crushed chilies. So I have this crushed chili paste here that is a combination of bird's eye chilies, dried Chinese chilies, Szechuan peppers. It's a ton of authenticity, and it really, really, really does spice things up. All right, we're gonna kill the heat because we don't want that to scorch. It smells incredible. You can see the steam is coming out. We'll just let that rest. And of course, we have to talk about the star of the show, and that is the Brussels sprouts. The key to making this dish is how we're gonna cook the Brussels sprouts. We wanna go very high heat, 500 degrees, convection oven. A little oil, a little salt and pepper, pop them in there, 15 minutes, and then boom, this is what they're gonna look like. So these came out perfect. The sauce is unbelievable. It's time to put it all together. I've got a mixing bowl here where I'm gonna go in with these charred, perfectly seasoned, perfectly cooked Brussels sprouts. And we've got our sauce, which is hot and so aromatic. And you don't wanna dump the entire contents in, just enough to coat the sprouts. And now let's go ahead and mix it all up. You wanna evenly coat those Brussels sprouts with that garlic, that ginger, that scallion to make this iconic dish that's been on the menu since day one. Time to plate these up. It's my favorite time of every episode. It never gets old to me, making incredible food like this. Now, those are basically done at this point, but I know that we talked about the importance of cooking them just right, so we have crispy edges. What happens is, once you apply the sauce, they tend to soak up a little bit, so you lose some of that texture. And texture matters, as you know, we talk about it all the time. So I'm gonna add some chopped peanuts. Cashews would work too, but I love the crunch of the peanut. So we've added a lot of very aggressive flavors here. Sesame oil, soy sauce, peanuts, rice vinegar, all of that stuff is fabulous, but balance, balance, balance. We wanna put a little bit of freshness on top. So I'm gonna hit it up with some chopped mint. And that's gonna bring a little bit of that bright green color back as well. A tiny bit more of some crushed chilies. And why not add a little bit of lime on top? And that is Avenue N's Kung Pao Brussels sprouts. Well, thanks for joining me as always, guys. That could not have been more fun. And until we meet again, you know how we do it. Keep on cooking.
There's the bell. School's out, and I just got word that you all passed with flying colors. Congratulations. If you're looking for extra credit, follow us on social media. We'll see you next time. Simply is brought to you by Cranston's Wines and More and Dr. Eric George and Associates.